In 73 BC, the Roman Republic faced an unexpected enemy, a Thracian gladiator named Spartacus. Once a free man, Spartacus was captured and sold into slavery, forced to fight for Roman entertainment. His rebellion began in Capua, a desperate bid for freedom. This seemingly insignificant uprising soon challenged Rome's power. Spartacus's small band of gladiators achieved astonishing victories. Thousands of slaves joined, swelling Spartacus's army. What began as a gamble for freedom became a full-scale revolt. The Roman Senate's dismissal proved a critical miscalculation. Spartacus's story reminds us that even mighty empires are vulnerable to rebellion. The initial Roman response to Spartacus's uprising was sluggish and dismissive. Confident in their military superiority, Roman officials perceived the slave revolt as a minor nuisance, a matter for local authorities to handle. This initial underestimation allowed Spartacus and his followers to operate with relative impunity, consolidating their forces and honing their fighting skills against poorly trained Roman militia. As Spartacus's forces grew, so too did the scale of their victories. They moved with surprising speed and tactical acumen, outmaneuvering and defeating several Roman legions dispatched to quell the rebellion. These early successes exposed a critical weakness in Rome's military machine, its over-reliance on heavy infantry and traditional tactics. Spartacus, a skilled warrior himself, exploited this rigidity, employing guerrilla warfare and unconventional tactics to devastating effect. Rome's overconfidence stemmed from its long history of military dominance. Used to crushing its enemies with overwhelming force, the Republic had become complacent, failing to adapt its strategies to counter the unconventional tactics employed by Spartacus. This hubris, this dangerous cocktail of arrogance and complacency, would allow the slave army to gain strength and credibility, transforming what seemed like a minor inconvenience into a serious threat to Roman authority. The tide began to turn with the arrival of Marcus Licinius Crassus, a wealthy and ambitious Roman general. Crassus, eager to claim military glory and advance his political career, persuaded the Senate to grant him command of a large army to crush the rebellion. While Crassus brought much-needed experience and discipline to the Roman war effort, he also brought a dangerous degree of arrogance. Crassus, like many in Rome, underestimated Spartacus's strategic brilliance and the fighting spirit of the slave army. He resorted to brutal discipline within his own ranks, reviving the practice of decimation, a punishment where 1 in 10 soldiers were chosen by lot and executed to deter cowardice. This act, while intended to instill fear and obedience, also bred resentment and fear amongst his own men. Crassus's initial campaigns against Spartacus were marked by setbacks and defeats. He failed to anticipate the slave army's cunning and adaptability, suffering a humiliating defeat at the Battle of Mount Garganus. This defeat shattered the aura of Roman invincibility, emboldening Spartacus's followers and shaking the confidence of the Roman public back home. One of Rome's most significant errors was its inability to form a unified front against Spartacus. Internal political squabbles and rivalries between Roman commanders hampered the war effort, allowing the slave army to exploit these divisions to their advantage. A prime example was the missed opportunity to trap Spartacus in southern Italy. Spartacus, realizing the strategic importance of Sicily, planned to ferry his army across the Strait of Messina. He intended to escape Italy, recruit more followers, and secure resources. However, this daring plan was thwarted by the treachery of Cilician pirates who had promised Spartacus safe passage, but betrayed him for Roman gold. This betrayal, coupled with Crassus's relentless pursuit and the arrival of additional Roman legions from the east, ultimately cornered Spartacus in the southern Italian region of Bruttium. What could have been a decisive victory for Spartacus, a chance to escape the Italian peninsula and continue his fight on more favorable terms, was transformed into a desperate last stand. Throughout the war, Roman commanders consistently underestimated the tactical ingenuity of Spartacus and his rebel army. At Mount Vesuvius, Spartacus famously outmaneuvered a Roman force sent to trap him on the slopes of the volcano. Using ropes and ladders made from vines, his forces descended a steep, unguarded cliff face and surprised the unsuspecting Roman camp, routing the legionaries. Another example of Roman tactical blundering occurred at the Battle of Mutina, where Spartacus exploited the recklessness of the Roman propraetor Gaius Cassius Longinus. Spartacus, feigning retreat, lured Cassius into a trap, turning the tables on the pursuing Romans and inflicting a crushing defeat. Finally, at the Battle of the Salaris River, the final confrontation between Spartacus and Crassus, the Romans, though ultimately victorious, again demonstrated tactical shortcomings. Spartacus, facing overwhelming Roman numbers, sought to break through Crassus's lines and escape. Despite the desperation of their situation, Spartacus's forces fought with incredible courage and discipline, nearly overwhelming the Roman lines at several points. It was only through Crassus's superior numbers and the arrival of reinforcements that the Romans were able to prevail. The Third Servile War, as the Romans called it, offers profound lessons for military strategists and historians alike. Firstly, it underscores the dangers of underestimating an enemy. Rome's initial hubris, its failure to recognize the seriousness of the threat posed by Spartacus, allowed the rebellion to gain momentum and nearly toppled the Republic. Secondly, the conflict highlights the importance of adaptability in warfare. Spartacus's success stemmed from his ability to adapt his tactics to exploit Roman weaknesses. He refused to be drawn into a traditional pitched battle, instead relying on mobility, surprise, and a keen understanding of the terrain. Finally, the war serves as a reminder that military might alone is not enough to guarantee victory. Spartacus's rebellion exposed the internal weaknesses of the Roman Republic, particularly its over-reliance on slaves and the vast social and economic disparities that fueled the rebellion. Spartacus's rebellion, though ultimately crushed, left an indelible mark on Roman history and the collective memory of the West. It exposed the inherent vulnerabilities of a society dependent on slave labor and served as a stark warning against the brutalization and oppression of entire populations. Though defeated on the battlefield, Spartacus achieved a different kind of victory. He became a symbol of resistance against tyranny, a champion of the oppressed, and an inspiration for generations to come. His name continues to resonate throughout history, a reminder that even the most powerful empires can be challenged by the will of those fighting for freedom and justice. Spartacus's story transcends the boundaries of time and place. His struggle against oppression, his courageous fight for freedom, continues to inspire us today, reminding us that the human spirit, even when confronted with overwhelming odds, can never be truly extinguished.